It was 2 a.m. when I finally snapped. I stood in the doorway of our tiny bedroom, watching Daniel hunched over his computer again, his face illuminated by the blue glow of his screen. The clicking of his keyboard echoed in the silence like a countdown to my breaking point. "Are you seriously still working on that game?" My voice came out sharper than I intended, but I was too exhausted to care. Daniel didn't even turn around. "Just finishing this level design. I'm almost done, I promise. You said that 3 hours ago." I crossed my arms, feeling the familiar frustration building in my chest. "I have a presentation at 8 in the morning, Daniel. Some of us have real jobs." That made him pause. His fingers stilled on the keyboard, and I saw his shoulders tense. "This is a real job, Em." "No," I said, walking into the room. "A real job pays bills. A real job has benefits and a salary and a future. You're 27 years old, and you're still playing with toys." He finally turned to face me, and I could see the hurt in his brown eyes. But I was too angry to stop. "We've been together 3 years, Daniel, 3 years, and in that time I've gotten 2 promotions. I'm paying 70% of our rent. Meanwhile, you're sitting here at 2 in the morning, working on something that might never make a single dollar. It's not about the money. Everything is about money," I practically shouted. "How are we supposed to build a life together? How are we supposed to get married, buy a house, have kids someday? You can't support a family on dreams and pixels." Daniel stood up slowly, and I noticed how tired he looked. How many nights had he stayed up like this while I slept? How many times had I come home complaining about my day without asking about his? But I pushed those thoughts away. I was being realistic. Someone had to be. "My mom asked me again today when you're going to get serious," I continued. "And I didn't know what to tell her, because honestly, Daniel, I don't know if you ever will. So what do you want me to do?" His voice was quiet, defeated. "Give up on everything I've been working toward. I want you to grow up." The words exploded out of me. "I want you to stop living in a fantasy world and face reality. This game thing. It's a childhood fantasy. It's time to let it go." The silence that followed was crushing. Daniel just stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time, and not in a good way. "Either get a real job," I said, my voice shaking, "or we're done." I turned and walked out before he could respond, my heart pounding. I climbed into bed alone, pulling the covers up to my chin, telling myself I'd done the right thing. I was helping him. I was saving us both from a future of disappointment and poverty. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was Becca. "Did Daniel just text me asking if you're okay?" Her message read, "What happened?" I typed back quickly, "Just gave him a reality check. He'll thank me later." "Emma, are you sure you're not being too harsh?" I turned my phone face down without responding. Becca didn't understand. She was a freelance graphic designer who lived off ramen and dreams. She couldn't lecture me about practicality. I closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. From the other room, I could hear Daniel's keyboard clicking again. Softer now, sadder somehow. I told myself I was right. I had to be right. It was a Friday night, exactly 2 weeks after my ultimatum, when everything fell apart. I came home from work exhausted, ready to collapse on the couch with a glass of wine. Instead, I found Daniel practically bouncing with excitement, his eyes bright in a way I hadn't seen in months. "Em, you're home. I have amazing news. Can it wait?" I dropped my bag on the floor and kicked off my heels. "I've had the worst day. James made me redo the entire campaign presentation because I got a meeting with an investor." Daniel interrupted, and I could hear the barely contained joy in his voice. "Emma, a real investor. His name is Marcus Johnson, and he actually played the demo I sent him. He wants to talk about funding. I felt my jaw tighten. An investor? Yes. He runs a venture capital firm that specializes in indie games. He said my concept is innovative and— Daniel, stop. I held up my hand and watched his smile falter. Do you hear yourself? You're getting excited about a maybe. A meeting doesn't mean anything. But he's interested. Lots of people are interested in things that never happen. I walked past him to the kitchen, pouring myself that wine. My mom called me today, by the way, again, asked me the same question she asks every week. Emma, can we please just— She wanted to know when you're going to get serious. I took a long sip, feeling the anger I'd been suppressing all day bubble to the surface. And you know what I realized? I don't have an answer, because you're not getting serious. You're chasing after fantasies like a child. That's not fair. His voice was quiet now, all the excitement drained away. Isn't it? I turned to face him. You're almost 30 years old, Daniel. 30. And you're still playing pretend, hoping some miracle investor is going to make all your dreams come true. This is my passion. Passion doesn't pay rent. I slammed my wine glass down harder than I meant to. I'm embarrassed to tell people what you do. Do you know that? When my colleagues ask about my boyfriend, I change the subject. Because what am I supposed to say? Oh, he makes video games in our apartment and hopes to get rich someday. Daniel just stood there, taking every word like a physical blow. And I couldn't stop. It was like 3 years of resentment was pouring out all at once. You want to know what my life looks like? I wake up at 6. I work until 7 or 8 at night. I pay our bills, buy our groceries, keep this apartment running. And what do? You sit in front of a computer living in a world that doesn't exist. I'm trying to build something. You're dating a child. The words came out before I could stop them, and I saw something break in Daniel's eyes. That's what it feels like, Daniel. Like I'm the only adult in this relationship. Like I'm your mother instead of your girlfriend. The apartment went completely silent. Even the usual city noise outside seemed to fade away. When Daniel finally spoke, his voice was steady but hollow. You're right. What? You're right, he repeated, and for some reason, hearing him agree made me feel worse instead of better. You deserve someone who fits your perfect plan. Someone with a 401k and a corner office and no inconvenient dreams. Daniel, I'll pack a bag. He walked past me toward our bedroom, and I just stood there, frozen. Where are you going to go? Sarah's place. My sister will let me crash on her couch. I should have stopped him. I should have said something, anything, but I didn't. I just watched as he threw clothes into a duffel bag, his movements mechanical. For what it's worth. He said quietly, pausing at the door, I loved you. More than the game, more than anything. I would have given it all up if you'd just asked me to instead of making me feel worthless. Then he was gone. I stood alone in our apartment, the sound of the door closing echoing in my ears. My phone buzzed almost immediately. Tyler, my colleague from work, still on for drinks tomorrow. His text read. I stared at it for a long moment. Tyler was successful. Tyler had ambition. Tyler understood how the real world worked. Yeah, I typed back. I'm free now. 3 days later, I came home to find Sarah at the apartment, helping Daniel collect the rest of his things. She looked at me with such disappointment that I actually took a step back. He loved you more than that game, she said, her voice ice cold. And you couldn't even pretend to believe in him. I didn't have a response. I just watched them carry boxes out of my life, taking with them any chance I had of taking back the words I'd said. 2 months later, I sat across from Tyler at an expensive steakhouse downtown, listening to him talk about quarterly projections and market trends. He looked good in his suit, confident and successful. Everything I thought I wanted. so the merger should finalize by Q3. He was saying, cutting into his steak with precision. Which means my stock options will vest early. I'm thinking of diversifying into some international funds. That's great, I said, taking a sip of my wine and trying to focus. You seem distracted. Tyler reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Everything okay? Yeah, just tired. James has been writing me about the new campaign. It wasn't entirely a lie. I had been tired, but not from work. The truth was, I couldn't stop thinking about Daniel. I'd check his social media every night, scrolling through his sparse posts, looking for what? Proof that he'd failed without me. Proof that I'd been right. But there was nothing. Just a few generic updates, nothing about the game or his life. It was like he'd disappeared. Emma, Tyler's voice pulled me back. I asked if you wanted to split dessert. Sure, whatever you want. He frowned slightly but signaled the waiter. Tyler was nice. Tyler was stable. Tyler was everything I'd told myself I needed. So why did I feel so empty? My phone buzzed with a text from Becca. Coffee tomorrow, miss your face. I agreed, grateful for the distraction. The next morning, I met her at our usual spot. Becca took one look at me and sighed. You look terrible. Thanks, I love you too. I'm serious, Em. She stirred her latte slowly. You've lost weight. You have dark circles under your eyes. When's the last time you actually slept? I'm fine, just busy with work, and things with Tyler are going really well. Are they? The question hung in the air between us. He's perfect on paper, I said finally. Successful, ambitious, stable, but nothing. He's exactly what I said I wanted. Becca studied me for a long moment. Do you miss him, Daniel? No, I lied. I made the right choice. He was never going to grow up. She didn't look convinced, but she let it drop. That afternoon, I ran into Kevin at a coffee shop near my office. Kevin had been friends with both of us, though I knew where his loyalty lay. Emma, he said, surprised. Hey yourself. How have you been? Good, good. He shifted uncomfortably. Listen, I should probably. How's Daniel? The question came out before I could stop it. Kevin's expression shuddered. He's fine. Is he still? Working on the game? Yeah. Actually, he's working on something pretty big right now. Got some backing, working with a real team. My stomach dropped. Backing, like investors? Yeah, it's look, Emma, I have to go. He started backing away. Take care of yourself. I watched him leave, that uncomfortable feeling in my chest growing stronger. Daniel had found investors, after I'd told him it would never happen. That night, Tyler fell asleep next to me almost immediately after we had sex. Quick, efficient sex that felt more like a transaction than intimacy. He started snoring softly, and I lay there staring at the ceiling. I remembered how Daniel used to stay up with me for hours, talking about his ideas, his dreams, his vision for the game. His eyes would light up when he explained the story, the characters, the world he was building, and I'd roll my eyes, telling him to be realistic. When had I become the kind of person who crushed dreams instead of supporting them? I pushed the thought away. I had everything I wanted: a promotion, a successful boyfriend, a clear path forward. So why did it feel like I'd lost something irreplaceable? I was scrolling through my phone during lunch break when I saw it. The headline read, Indie game echoes of tomorrow breaks sales records in first week. My hands started shaking before I even clicked the link. There was Daniel's face, professional and confident, in what looked like a press photo. The article talked about how his game had become a viral sensation, praised by critics and players alike. Revolutionary gameplay, emotional storytelling, a fresh voice in the industry. I couldn't breathe. I clicked on another article. Then another. YouTube videos with millions of views. Streamers playing his game, their faces lit with genuine excitement. Comments praising the genius behind it. Daniel, my Daniel, the man I'd called a child. My phone rang. "Becca, have you seen it?" she asked, her voice careful. "I'm looking at it right now." "Emma, he did it." My voice sounded strange in my own ears. "He actually did it." "Yeah, he did." I found more information. The investor Marcus Johnson had believed in him, given him funding, resources, a team. Everything I'd told Daniel he'd never get. The game made $10 million in its first month. 10 million, I have to go. I told Becca and hung up before she could respond. I called in sick for the rest of the day. Tyler texted asking if I was okay. I ignored it. Instead, I sat on my couch, scrolling through every article, every video, every interview I could find. Daniel looked different in these photos, confident, happy, successful, everything I'd told him he'd never be. I found an interview in a major gaming magazine. The interviewer asked him about his inspiration. "I dedicated this game to everyone who believed in me," Daniel said. "And to those who didn't. You taught me to believe in myself." He didn't say my name. He didn't have to. I grabbed my phone, my fingers hovering over his contact. Should I text him, call him, say congratulations? Apologize? What could I possibly say? "Sorry I told you your dreams were stupid right before you made millions, proving me wrong." I typed and deleted a dozen messages, each one more pathetic than the last. Finally, I threw my phone across the room and started crying. Not gentle tears, ugly, gasping sobs that shook my entire body, because I finally understood what I'd done. I hadn't just broken up with Daniel. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was too arrogant, too blind, too focused on my narrow definition of success to see his brilliance. He'd needed someone to believe in him, and I'd become his biggest critic instead. My phone buzzed from where it landed on the floor. Probably Tyler, or Becca, or James wondering why I'd left work early. I didn't care. I just curled up on the couch, staring at the ceiling, watching my life fracture into before and after. Before I destroyed everything, and after, when I had to live with what I'd done. I couldn't let it go. 2 days after discovering Daniel's success, I tried texting him. The message turned green. Number changed. I sent him a message on Instagram. Read receipt showed he'd seen it. No response. Facebook, same thing. Seen, ignored. I was spiraling and I knew it, but I couldn't stop. "Kevin," I said, cornering him at a mutual friend's party a week later. "Please, I just need to talk to him." Kevin looked at me with something like pity. "Emma, don't do this." "I need to apologize. I need to tell him I was wrong." "He knows you were wrong. The whole world knows you were wrong." His voice was gentle but firm. "He's moved on. Let him be happy. Just give him a message. Tell him I'm proud of him. Tell him no." Kevin shook his head. "I'm not doing that. Daniel's been through enough. He doesn't need this." I left the party early and did something I'm not proud of. I looked up Sarah's address and drove to her apartment. When she opened the door, her expression immediately went cold. "Emma, please, Sarah, I know you hate me. I know I don't deserve anything, but I just need to talk to Daniel, just once." She crossed her arms. "No, I was wrong about everything. I just want to tell him you had 3 years to support him." Sarah interrupted, her voice sharp. 3 years to be the partner he deserved. Instead, you chose to tear him down, to make him feel worthless, to treat his dreams like they were stupid. I know I did. That's why I need to apologize. He doesn't need your apology now that he's proven you wrong." She leaned against the doorframe. "He needs people who believed in him from the start. You weren't one of those people. You don't get to celebrate his success when you told him he'd never have it. The door closed in my face. I sat in my car outside her building for 20 minutes, crying so hard I could barely see. When I finally went home, I made the mistake of checking Daniel's Instagram again. There was a new photo. Him at a gaming convention, smiling, his arm around a beautiful woman with dark hair and an infectious laugh. The caption read, "Amazing weekend with the team. Couldn't have done this without at Olivia Park Art's incredible vision." I clicked on her profile. Olivia Park, artist, she'd done the visual design for his game. Every post showed her talent, her passion, her understanding of his world. She was everything I'd never been for him. The next day, Tyler broke up with me over lunch. "You're still in love with him," he said matter-of-factly, cutting into his sandwich. "Your ex. You're emotionally unavailable, Emma. I'm not interested in being someone's second choice." I didn't even try to deny it. "I'm sorry, so am I." He stood up, threw cash on the table. "I hope you figure out what you want, but stop wasting other people's time while you do." Work wasn't going well either. I'd missed deadlines, showed up late, zoned out during meetings. James called me into his office. "Emma, you were one of my best employees," he said, concern evident in his voice. "What's going on?" "Personal issues. I'm sorry. I'll do better." "Is this about that game developer, Daniel Chen?" I looked up sharply. "How do you know about that?" "Everyone knows about him now. His game is everywhere." James leaned back in his chair. "He was your ex, wasn't he? I remember you mentioning him." "Yeah." "And you broke up with him because you thought he was wasting his time." The judgment in his voice was clear, even though he was trying to be kind. Something like that. "Look, I'm giving you 2 weeks to get your head straight. But after that, I need the old Emma back, the focused one, understood?" I nodded, but we both knew I was barely holding on. That night, I lay in bed, scrolling through more photos of Daniel and Olivia. They looked so happy together. So perfectly matched. I'd lost him. I'd lost everything, and I had no one to blame but myself. 8 months after the breakup, I saw him again. My company was sponsoring a tech and gaming industry gala. I'd helped organize it, actually, before I knew Daniel would be there. When I walked into the ballroom and saw him across the room, my heart stopped. He wore a tailored suit that fit him perfectly. He stood surrounded by admirers, journalists, other developers, all hanging on his words. He looked confident. Successful, happy, everything I'd told him he'd never be. Oh God. Becca whispered next to me. She'd come as my plus one. "Is that, yeah. Do you want to leave?" "No, I need to talk to him." "Emma, maybe that's not a good." But I was already moving, drawn to him like a magnet. Olivia stood next to him in an emerald dress that made her look like she belonged in a magazine. When Daniel looked at her, his whole face softened. That used to be me. I waited until he was momentarily alone, gathering every ounce of courage I had left. "Daniel," he turned. For a split second, I saw something flicker in his eyes, surprise, maybe pain. But then it was gone, replaced by polite distance. "Emma." God, hearing him say my name after all these months made my chest ache. Can we talk, just for a minute?" He glanced around, probably looking for an escape route, but nodded. "Sure." We moved to a quieter corner of the ballroom. I could feel Olivia watching us from across the room. "Congratulations," I said, my voice shaking, "on everything, the game, the success. You deserve all of it. Thank you. I was wrong." The words tumbled out. "About everything. I was cruel and dismissive, and I made you feel like your dreams didn't matter, but they did. They do. You were brilliant, and I was too blind to see it." Daniel listened without interrupting, his face carefully neutral. "I'm so proud of you." I continued, tears starting to form. "And I'm so sorry For everything I said, everything I made you feel, you didn't deserve any of it. The silence stretched between us. I waited for something, anger, forgiveness, anything. Thank you for saying that. Daniel said finally, I hope you're doing well, Emma. That was it. No emotion, no indication that my words had affected him at all. Daniel, please, I should get back. He nodded politely, like I was a casual acquaintance instead of someone who'd shared his bed and his dreams for 3 years. Take care of yourself. Then he walked away. I watched him return to Olivia, watched him whisper something in her ear that made her laugh, watched him place his hand on the small of her back with a tenderness I remembered too well. Becca found me a few minutes later, still standing in that corner like an idiot. Oh, Em, she said softly, pulling me into a hug. He doesn't care, I whispered, he just doesn't care at all. Maybe that's for the best, but it wasn't. His anger would have been better than this. His hatred would have meant I still meant something, even if it was something negative. His indifference meant I meant nothing at all. I couldn't function. Work became impossible. I'd sit at my desk, staring at my computer screen, seeing Daniel's polite, distant face instead of spreadsheets and presentations. James called me into his office again 3 weeks after the gala. Emma, I can't keep making excuses for you. I know. I'm sorry. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've given up. He sighed. I'm moving you to a junior position. Less responsibility, less pay. Consider it a wake-up call. I nodded numbly. A demotion, perfect. I started seeing a therapist. Dr. Martinez listened to my story without judgment, taking notes while I cried through most of the first session. Why does his success matter so much to you? She asked during our third meeting. Because I told him he'd never make it, and he did, without me. Is it about the success, or about the fact that you lost him? I sat with that question for a long moment. I lost the best thing in my life, I said finally. Not just a boyfriend, my best friend, my partner, someone who looked at me like I was the most important person in his world, and I threw it away because I was too arrogant to see what I had. What would you say to him if you could? That I'm sorry, that I was wrong, that I'd take it all back if I could, but you can't take it back. No, I can't. Daniel's face was everywhere now. Forbes did a feature on him. He appeared on gaming podcasts, industry panels, tech conferences. In every interview, he talked about the importance of surrounding yourself with supportive people. He never mentioned me, not once, not even as a cautionary tale. Somehow, that hurt more than if he'd called me out by name. Becca took me out for drinks one Friday night, clearly worried about my mental state. You need to move on, Em. I know. Do you? Because you're destroying yourself over this. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was too arrogant to see his value. The words came out as a sob. How am I supposed to move on from that? I know. Becca said gently, squeezing my hand, but you can't change the past. You can only learn from it. Do you think he'll ever forgive me? She was quiet for a long moment. Emma, he's moved on. The question is, can you? I didn't have an answer. That night, I wrote Daniel an email I never sent. Pages and pages of apologies, explanations, regrets. I poured everything into it, every moment I wished I could take back, every cruel word I wanted to erase. At the end, I wrote, "You were right to walk away. I just wish I'd been brave enough to ask you to stay." I saved it in my drafts folder, where it sits to this day. Another thing I'm too cowardly to actually do. 1 year after the breakup, I saw the announcement. Daniel and Olivia were engaged. The photo showed them on a beach at sunset, her left hand displaying a beautiful ring, both of them radiating pure joy. The caption read, "She said yes. I'm the luckiest person in the world. I stared at that photo for 3 hours straight. That should have been me. That should have been my ring, my beach, my sunset, my future. If I'd just believed in him. If I'd just supported him. If I'd just loved him the way he deserved. Something inside me broke. Not the sharp pain of a fresh wound, but the dull, final crack of something that can never be repaired. I took out my journal. Something Dr. Martinez had recommended, and wrote him a letter I'd never send. Dear Daniel, I'm writing this knowing you'll never read it. Maybe that makes it easier to be honest. I'm sorry, not just for the breakup, but for every moment before it when I made you feel small. Every time I rolled my eyes at your ideas. Every time I called your dreams childish. Every time I chose my pride over your feelings. You were brilliant. You are brilliant. I just couldn't see it because I was measuring you against the wrong standards. I thought success meant corner offices and 401ks and quarterly bonuses. I didn't understand that real success means doing what you love with someone who believes in you. You had both. And I took the second part away from you. I saw the engagement announcement. She's beautiful. She clearly understands your world in a way I never did. She was there for your success from the beginning. She gets to share in your joy, your achievements, your life. That should have been me. If I'd just been brave enough, smart enough, loving enough to see what I had while I had it. I'm not writing this for forgiveness. I don't deserve that. I'm writing this because I need to finally admit the truth. I didn't just lose a boyfriend. I lost my soulmate, and it was entirely my fault. You were right to walk away. I just wish I'd been brave enough to ask you to stay. I hope you're happy. I hope Olivia gives you everything I couldn't. I hope your dreams keep coming true. And I hope, somewhere in the back of your mind, you remember that I finally understood. Too late, but I understood. I love you, I always will. Emma, I folded the letter carefully and put it in a drawer I never open. 2 months later, I saw an advertisement for an art gallery showing. Featured artist, Olivia Park. Concept art from Echoes of Tomorrow. I went. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to torture myself a little more. The gallery was beautiful. Olivia's work was breathtaking, emotional, detailed, perfectly capturing the essence of Daniel's vision. Each piece told a story, and together they created a world I could almost step into. I stood in front of a piece showing the game's 2 main characters partners on a journey, supporting each other through impossible odds. The love between them was evident in every brushstroke. That's my favorite too. I turned to see Olivia standing next to me, studying her own work with a critical eye. It's beautiful. I managed, thank you. It was inspired by Daniel's vision, of course. He has this incredible ability to see entire worlds in his mind. She smiled softly. The best part about creating is sharing it with someone who truly understands your vision. I nodded, unable to speak. She didn't know who I was. Why would she? Are you a fan of the game? She asked politely. I've heard of it. I said, my voice barely a whisper. It sounds amazing. It is. Daniel poured his heart into it. She looked at me curiously. You know, he used to talk about how important it is to have people who believe in you. He said the biggest gift you can give someone is taking their dreams seriously. I felt tears starting to form and turned away. Excuse me, I should go. I left before she could respond, before I started crying in the middle of a crowded gallery, before I had to explain that I was the person who'd refused to give Daniel that gift. Some doors close forever, and no amount of regret can open them again. 2 years after the breakup, I ran into Kevin at a bookstore. Emma, he said, genuinely friendly this time, how are you? I'm okay, better. It was mostly true. How about you? Good. Just got promoted actually. congratulations. We chatted for a few minutes about work, the weather, safe topics. Then, because I apparently love torturing myself, I asked, "How's Daniel?" Kevin studied me carefully. "He's really happy, Emma. The company's expanding, they're working on a sequel. He and Olivia are planning the wedding. That's good. I'm glad he's happy. He did ask about you once, actually, a few months ago. My heart jumped. He did. Yeah, he wanted to make sure you were doing okay. I told him you'd moved to a new apartment, were working on yourself." Kevin paused. "He said he hoped you were well, that was it. Oh, Emma, he's moved on, truly moved on, I think. I think you should too." I nodded, feeling the familiar ache in my chest. "Yeah, you're right." That night, I went through my phone and looked at the old photos I'd kept hidden. There were hundreds of them. Daniel laughing at something I'd said. Daniel showing me his game sketches, his face bright with excitement. Daniel asleep on the couch after a long day of coding. There was one that destroyed me. He was explaining some aspect of his game design, holding up his laptop to show me. His expression was so full of hope, so eager to share his passion with me, and I was looking at the camera, barely paying attention, clearly bored. That photo summed up our entire relationship. He was all in. I was never fully there. I finally deleted them. Not because I was over him, I don't know if I'll ever be over him, but because holding on was keeping me stuck. A week later, I went on a date with someone new. Andrew, a teacher I'd met through a friend. He was kind, patient, passionate about his work with kids. "So, what are you passionate about?" he asked over dinner, his eyes genuinely curious. I opened my mouth to answer and realized I didn't know. I'd spent so long chasing status and success, measuring everything by salary and title, that I'd forgotten what actually mattered. "I'm still figuring that out," I said honestly. Andrew smiled. "That's okay. The best journeys are the ones where you discover yourself along the way." He sounded like Daniel used to. Before I crushed that optimism out of him, 3 years after losing Daniel, I sat at Becca's wedding, watching her marry her partner of 5 years. During the speeches, Becca talked about what makes a good partnership. The most important thing, she said, her voice emotional, is having someone who believes in you even when you don't believe in yourself. Someone who sees your potential and helps you reach it. Someone who takes your dreams seriously, no matter how impossible they seem. She caught my eye and gave me a sad, knowing smile. After the ceremony, she pulled me into a tight hug. "You'll find someone, Em," she whispered, "but next time, be the person Daniel needed you to be." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. I know. I'd heard through mutual friends that Daniel and Olivia got married in Japan. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. They were expecting their first child. His third game was in development. Every dream I'd told him was impossible was now his reality. And he was sharing it all with someone who'd believed in him from the start. That night, I sat down with my journal, a habit I'd maintained even after therapy ended, and wrote my final thoughts about Daniel. I learned the most painful lesson of my life. That love isn't just about being there for the good times. It's about believing in someone when they can't believe in themselves. Daniel didn't need me to be practical or realistic. He needed me to be his biggest supporter. Instead, I became his biggest critic. He proved me wrong about everything. He showed the world, and showed me, that dreams aren't stupid, they're not childish, they're not wastes of time. They're what make life worth living. And I missed out on sharing that journey with him because I was too blind, too arrogant, too focused on my narrow definition of success to see the brilliant man standing right in front of me. Some mistakes can be forgiven, some can even be fixed, but some mistakes cost you everything. All I can do now is learn to live with the loss and promise myself I'll never make this mistake again. If I ever love someone again, I'll remember Daniel. I'll remember that dreams aren't stupid. Giving up on the people who have them is. He won't even look at me anymore, and I've finally accepted that I don't deserve another chance. But I hope wherever he is, he knows I finally understand what I lost. And I hope he's happy. He deserves that, even if I couldn't be the one to give it to him. I closed the journal and looked out my apartment window at the city lights below. Daniel was out there somewhere, living his dream life, building games, raising a family, surrounded by people who believed in him. And I was here, alone, carrying the weight of the biggest mistake I'd ever made. The lesson came too late to save us. But maybe, just maybe, it came in time to save the next person I might love, if I can ever figure out how to open my heart again.